Did he say go? Bismillah. What you say? Did he say it's on? Oh, Bismillah. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. We continue in the explanation of Bulugh al-Maram, but the great illustrious scholar al-Hafiz Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah المتوفى سنة 852 Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, the one who died 852 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam, on this day of, what's today? The 30th of October. What's the day of the Hijri calendar? I'm sorry, everyone. This is something that's important. I have to keep up with the dates. Anyone know the date from the Hijri calendar today? It's the 9th of Muharram? I'm about to say, sheesh, 9th of Muharram. It's Ashura was just, that would mean Ashura's tomorrow. 29th Muharram. So 29th of Muharram. 1430, what everyone? Oh, serious? You going back in time? 1438 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wasalam, on the month of Muharram, which is the 29th of Muharram, which is corresponding with October the 30th of the Gregorian calendar of 2000 and subhanAllah, even me, I'm losing the dates. 2000, what's the 2015? 2016. You sure today is year 2? Wow, what's going on today? 2016. So we continue in this affair, which is Bulugh al-Maram, and we explained in the Hadeeth, and we just started, on the Hukm Zawaj al-Mutaa. Keeping important and keeping the accuracy and the dates is very important. Very, very important. But anyway, so it says, Hukm Zawaj al-Mutaa, the ruling in regards to temporary marriage. The ruling in regards to temporary marriage. We talked a bit about the hadith, and we started on the narration of Salama ibn al-Akwa' radiyallahu an, on the authority Salamata ibn al-Akwa', the great noble Sahabi radiyallahu anhu ardah, رخص رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عام أوطاس في المتعة 3 أيام ثم نهى عنها رواه Muslim. On the authority of Salama ibn al-Akwa', that the Prophet ﷺ, that he legalized or he made permissible the Am or the year of Awtas for temporary marriage, 3 days, and then he prohibited it. Then he forbade it or made it prohibited. The next narration, we'll read just the narrations quickly before we actually read the explanation, the commentary, and try to extract all the benefits from it. On the authority Ali ibn Abi Talib, if everyone looks in their books, قال نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن المتعة عام خيبر. That the Prophet ﷺ, that he prohibited temporary marriage the year of Khaybar. The year of Khaybar. And that hadith is agreed upon by Bukhari and Muslim. The next narration likewise is on the authority of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Abu al-Hasan al-Hashimi radiyallahu anhu ardah, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن متعة النساء وعن أكل الحمر الأهلية يوم خيبر أخرجه السبعة إلا أبا داود. That the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام prohibited temporary marriage and the eating of domestic donkeys, those domestic animals, those domestic donkeys on the year of Khaybar. That's the second narration that has been narrated by Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third one, well, this is not on the authority of Ali, the authority of Rabi' ibn Sabrah. ربيع عن ربيع ابن صبرة عن أبيه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إني كنت أذنت لكم في الاستمتاع من النساء وإن الله قد حرم ذلك إلى يوم القيامة فمن كان عنده منهن شيء فليخلي سبيلها لا تأخذوا مما آتيتموهن شيئا أخرجه مسلم وأبو داود والنسائي وابن ماجه وأحمد بن حبان. The Prophet ﷺ, has been reported on the authority of Rabi' ibn Sabrah upon his father, Sabrah, that the Prophet ﷺ said, verily, I gave permission for you for al-istimta' min al-nisa, meaning to indulge in temporary marriage at a time. Al-istimta' min al-nisa, meaning to indulge in that zawaj al-Mutaa. For verily Allah has made it unlawful until the day of resurrection. And whoever has with him, meaning those women in which he already made those contracts, of course, he says, then let her go. فَلْيُخْلِي سَبِيلَهَا, let her go. And do not take anything which you've given them, do not take back anything which you've given them, anything in the lease. أخرجه مسلم وأبو داود والنسائي وابن ماجه وأحمد وابن حبان. All these narrations is in speaking about this affair in which we stopped last week, speaking about zawaj al-Mutaa, temporary marriage. And we know zawaj or al-Mutaa, or in the Arabic language, the word al-Mutaa means pleasure. Al-Mutaa in the Arabic language means pleasure. Means pleasure. But it's understood as what? Temporary marriage, or temporary marriage to an appointed time, or marriage to an appointed time. If you notice here, ma'ashal ikhwa, that this hadith, of course, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and especially in the earlier times, you'll find that even the non-Muslims, from the pagans and the polytheists, and even from the people of the book, deemed and believed to be unlawful for a man and a woman to be together before marriage, meaning to be intimate. You'll find in these narrations, if you'll gather from the benefits as we'll talk about, that even the pagans, even the people who worship idols, all of them at that particular time, all believed unanimously that indulging in fornication and adultery was something erroneous and evil. That's why even, especially the Muslims, you see that the Prophet ﷺ had still allowed the Muslims to engage in affairs as long as it's with what? With a marriage contract. As long as it was with a marriage contract. Or be mulkin yamin. Or by one owning a concubine. By one owning a concubine. Concubine meaning having a slave. We'll talk about bi'idhnillah. So, in order to magnify this affair of zina, and I think us living in this land, we see the fruits of fornication and adultery, how it has torn down the family structure, it's torn and ripped apart families. And we see that now, even in our neighborhoods and in the surrounding areas, how there's no love, no trust, and crime has reached its point where it is very, very serious. And if you look to the reasons of the crime and the breaking down the family structure and the fabric of the security and sanctity of society, that the reason for the causes of this goes back to this affair. Goes back to fornication and adultery. Breaking down the family structure, children being raised without fathers, and not being taught those proper manners and taught respect and integrity for respect to people and their property. And the child does not have the proper belief. Also is very important, which comes as a result of it, the child rebels. And he takes it out on the world, as if the world is to blame. And like we said, the ultimate reason you'll find is because of this affair of fornication and adultery. It has ripped the fabric of society apart. And it's a shame that people never want to take ibrah, exhortation from anything until it actually occurs or they see the actual outcome of something. And that is the problem with people, is that how stubborn they are, and they don't listen until the very end when everything falls apart. So you see that the Prophet ﷺ has spoke about this affair of marriage contracts that were temporary. Notice in the narration that we talked about before, last week we said, talking about al-Tas. Al-Tas, that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited temporary marriage, the year of al-Tas. And we said last week that al-Tas was a place that's close to Mecca and Ta'if. It's a place that was close to Mecca and Ta'if. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. Let me turn my page. No. That it was a place that was close to Mecca and Ta'if, in that area. In these days and times, it's still present. In the Saudiya, you will find there's a place called Ta'if in Mecca, that the place still exists to this day, which is al-Tas, which was done during the battle, of which we'll talk about, bi'idhnillah, during the time of Hunayn. Hunayn was the Ghazwa to Hunayn, which took place in the 8th year of the Hijrah, when the Prophet ﷺ had ordained the conquest of Mecca. And likewise, that same year, Ghazwa to Hunayn, or the expedition of Hunayn, took place and transpired. But at any rate, just to summarize everything, the Prophet ﷺ called it Am al-Tas. So when you see the word Am, or the year of al-Tas, we said that the meaning of it is the year of the conquest of Mecca. The year of the conquest of Mecca, Fathu Mecca. And at the same time, that the conquest of Mecca, sometimes you find Ahl-Ilm, they say the year of the conquest of Mecca, or just the conquest of Mecca, or the year of al-Tas. All of these events took place the same year. They took place the same year. You will also find that some of Ahl-Ilm, instead of Am al-Tas, they'll call it Ghazwatu al-Tas. The expedition, or the war expedition of al-Tas. As it comes in the Hadeeth, and we'll talk about inshallah. So all of these things, or these events, they transpired in the same year. And the Prophet ﷺ rakhasa ama al-Tas. Listen to Sheikh Salih Fawzani mentioned it, says about this. He said that Ghazwatu al-Tas, the expedition of al-Tas, in actuality is the expedition or the battle of Hunayn. The battle of Hunayn that took place likewise in the same year. He says, في السنة الثامنة للهجرة رخص فيها رخص في المتعة 3 أيام. لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم التقى مع هوازن في وادي حنين. The Ghazwatu al-Tas, it is the battle of Hunayn, which is the 8th year after the Hijrah, that the Prophet ﷺ legalized or gave permission in temporary marriage 3 days. لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم التقى مع هوازن في وادي حنين. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he had met with the tribe who he went to war with was Hawazin. Hawazin. In the valley of Hunayn. وحصلت المعركة ونصر الله المسلمين فانحاز بقايا هوازن إلى ما كان يقال له أوطاس. He said the battle took place and Allah gave victory to the Muslims. He says, and the remaining from the tribe of Hawazin, they were forced to a place and pushed to a place that was called Awtas. And he said it's close to Ta'if. It's close to Ta'if. The Prophet ﷺ has sent a Sariyah. He sent a battalion. The Prophet ﷺ sent a Sariyatan or Katibatan بقيادة أبي عامر الأشعري فنصر الله عليهم. The Prophet ﷺ that he sent a battalion with the leadership or leading the battle or leading the battalion, Abi Amr al-Ash'ari. And Allah Ta'ala gave victory over them. So, Awtas, the year of Awtas took place in the same year of what? Of the conquest of Mecca, and also during the Battle of Hunayn, which was the 8th year. You'll find that also Ahl Ilm, I know you guys are not going to memorize this unless you write it down. You can write it in your book. Oh, I don't have my pen. The Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and gave permission during this time or this time period about now what we're speaking about, which is what? Temporary marriage. So we just wanted to elaborate what was the meaning of Awtas. Awtas is a place in which the mushrikeen, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, of Hawazin, during the Battle of Hunayn, was forced to that place in that valley where they were remaining after the defeat in the Battle of Hunayn. When it says in the narration, رَخَصَ عَمَ أَوْطَاسِ, the year of the Prophet ﷺ, that he made legal during the year of Awtas, what a person would extract from this particular wording, that at first it was what? Haram. Who would you understand that the Prophet ﷺ said it was what? Gave permission. رَخَّصَ فِيهَا. Gave permission. What would you understand from that? But before that it was what? It wasn't permissible. He said because usually, لأن الترخيص إنما يكون من محرم. لا رخصة إلا في مقابلة المحرم. تكون المتعة حرمت أولا ثم رخص فيها 3 أيام ثم نهى عنها. Because the tarkhis, or given permission, it's not made except for something in its origin. It was what? Unlawful at first. There was no permission to do that except that was in في مقابلة المحرم, except that it was because in its origin it was haram at first. So Mutaa, or Zawaj al-Mutaa, or the temporary marriage, what we want to understand is that it's what? It was unlawful. Then the Prophet ﷺ gave permission for 3 days. Then he prohibited that affair. So it was haram, it was hurrimat. So what we'll understand, just to gather everything up, is that فتكون حرمت مرتين أولا ثم أبيحت ثم حرمت. So it was unlawful at first. So we understand that it was what? It was made prohibited how many times? Twice. أحسنتم. It was made haram twice. That's what we want to understand. It was haram at one time, then what? Permissible, then it was what? Made lawful forever. Jayyid? That's one statement. That's one statement for Ahl Ilm. صلي ركعتين السلام رحمة تصلي ركعتين تحية المسجد, or pray 2 rakats. The wudu is right there. The wudu station is right in there. Just put on one of the slippers. Yeah. طيب, so what is understood is that it was made haram how many times? Twice. Then it was legalized and it was made haram forever, of course. There was some khilaf it was in regards to this. Even Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentions this at first. He gave some clarity in this regard. He says, إذا تكون المتعة قد مرت في ثلاث مراحل. He says that temporary marriage, he said what had took place, or when it was made unlawful, in the end, he said before that, it took place or passed over it 3 stages. He said the first stage, أولا حرمها ثم رخص فيها. That it was made unlawful. The Prophet ﷺ made it unlawful, of course. Then the Prophet ﷺ gave permission in it. Then he made it unlawful to the end, forever. He says, and upon this, كان إجماع أهل العلم أن نكاح المتعة نكاح باطل. He says, and upon this is the consensus of Ahl Ilm that temporary marriage is a marriage that is false and rejected. وأن جوازه كان بالرخصة ثم نسخ. He says, then it was made legal and lawful at one time. By the rukhsa, by the permission of the Prophet ﷺ, then it was abrogated. ولا يرخص فيه إذا الرافضة الآن ولا عبرة لخلافها. He said, there's nobody that legalizes this affair, makes it permissible now, except the Rafida from the Shia. He says, وَلَا عِبْرَةَ لِخِلَافِهِمْ. We do not even look to their khilaf. Their khilaf is not even considered with us. He says, وَهَذَا نِكَاحُ الْمُتْعَةِ. This is nikah al-mut'ah, and this is the ruling in our religion in regards to Islam. And whoever makes it halal after it's been made haram, whoever deems it or makes it lawful, then he's a disbeliever. Because he belied the text? No, kafir. Because he's belied the text, he's rejected what is pure revelation, which results as one nullifying his Islam. Because he's opposed of what has been a consensus upon its unlawfulness. So what we understand from this, you'll find that it was what? It was made haram twice, it was made halal once for 3 days, and that was it. There's some other statements from Ahl Ilm. He says, فَمِنَّ مِلَ الْعُلَمَاء مَنْ قَالَ إِنَّهَا حُرِّمَتْ مَرَّةً واحدة. There's some from Ahl Ilm who has made it and said that it was what? It was only haram once. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ قَالَ بَلْ. We'll talk about that. And the strongest opinion of what we just said is what the Imam, Sheikh Salih Fawzan, is mentioned in here, in which we'll speak about in detail in the next narration, inshaAllah. Can you read the narration of Ali ibn Abi Talib for me quickly? I have to recharge.
Temporary marriage, Mutaa of women, and eating the flesh of domestic dogs.
Jayid. Well, the authority Ali ibn Abi Talib that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited Mut'ah the year of Khaybar. The year of Khaybar. He prohibited Mut'ah the year of Khaybar. The year of Khaybar, or the year of Khaybar, was before the time of Awtas. Khaybar, which we'll talk about later, the year of Khaybar was during the 6th year. As Awtas was during what year, everyone? 8. So this affair, it was unlawful the year of Khaybar. The year of Khaybar. So it was made the year of Khaybar, as it comes in this narration. Then it was made permissible during the year of Awtas, 3 days, right everyone? Then it was made unlawful. This is what a majority of Ahl Ilm that they believe and they go to in saying that this is what is correct. Pay attention, everyone. that this is what is correct. Then it was made lawful the year of Awtas, 3 days, and then it was what? It was made unlawful, of course, in the end. طيب. هذا والذي ذهب إليه كثير من أهل العلم. However, some of أهل العلم said إنها لم تحرم إلا مرة واحدة عام الفتح. Some of them say, like we talked about a couple of minutes ago, we said that some of them say that it was unlawful. It was only made unlawful what? Once, which is during the year of the conquest only. And that Hadeeth Ali نهى عن متعة عام خيبر كان فيه لفظ آخر. He said, as far as this hadith right now, what we just mentioned about عام خيبر, or the year of Khaybar, he says, كان فيه لفظ آخر. He said that there's another wording, that the Prophet ﷺ prohibited temporary marriage, the year of Khaybar, and also the eating of the domestic donkeys or the domestic animals. He says, وَالَّذِي ثَبَتْ تَحْرِيمُ عَمَ خَيْبَرْ هُوَ اللُّحُومُ الْحُمْرِ الْأَهْلِيَةِ. Some Ahl al-Ilm, they will say that what has been established is that it was unlawful in the year of Khaybar. What was been made unlawful, he says, was the eating of domestic donkeys or animals. He says that, however, some of the wahm of some of the narrators, they probably just, as far as in the particular hadith, that here they have fell into what they call wahm. Not forgetfulness, but wahm is like, wahm is almost like, it's a type of forgetfulness. I can't get the proper translation of wahm right now, yatawaham. That they gave the impression, they got the impression, but they kind of made a slight little mistake. That the prohibition went to the what? On the year of Khaybar, it was just the eating of domestic donkeys. But it wasn't necessarily for what? Zawaj al-Mut'ah. But at any rate, what we say, whether it was that or not, we know that the ultimate and the conclusion of all this, just to sum up everything, is that we know that Zawaj al-Mut'ah, temporary marriage, is unlawful and forbidden in our religion. Whether or not we said it was made haram twice, which seems that if that's the most strongest opinion based upon what even Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, and Sheikh Salih Fawzan also mentioned. But there's some from Ahl al-Ilm saying that it was only made what? Haram once. Whether it's say it's the first case or the second, we know, we drop the conclusion that all of it was unlawful. And we know that all the way up to the day of resurrection, that temporary marriage is what? Is unlawful. Temporary marriage is unlawful. So we say that khilaf, and based upon that, even the second statement you'll find, the second statement, which is that was only made once, unlawful once, from those from Ahl al-Ilm mentioned was Ibn al-Qayyim. As he mentioned that in Zad al-Mu'ad fil Hadi, Zad al-Mu'ad, which is in that tremendous book that he authored, the treatise, which is entitled Zad al-Mu'ad, which fi khayri hadi al-ibad, which we'll talk about bi'idhnillah. But anyway, he mentioned this opinion here, which is the second statement. But however, like we said, whether or not it was the first or the second, what we want to draw up is that we know that this affair has been abrogated, and it's not permissible for the Muslims to indulge inside of temporary marriage whatsoever, whether we say the first one or not. What is the meaning of mut'ah? As we know that mut'ah, or the word Mutaa in the Arabic language, is what, as we talked about a couple of minutes ago, means pleasure. Mutaa. He says, هي النكاح إلى أجل مثل أن يقول زوجني بنتك لمدة أو لمدة شهر كإنسان قدم بلدا وأراد يتزوج لكنه لا يريد يتزوج زواجا مطلقا. The meaning of Mutaa is the marriage to an appointed time. A marriage to an appointed time, where it's put inside of the contract. For example, a man would say, marry your daughter to me for 1 month, for the period of 1 month, or the duration of 1 month. For example, a person might come to a land or come to a city or country, and he wants to get married. He wants to marry. However, he doesn't want absolute marriage. So he'll come to the man or the person who's responsible for the woman, whether it be the father or the brother or who have you, and he'll say that I want to marry her for a month or a couple of weeks or 2 months or 3 months, and that's it. And they agree upon that. If they agree upon that, then they made it a stipulation in the contract. This is what they call nikah al-mut'ah. If it's been made a stipulation in the contract that they only be married for this appointed time and this specific time, and this duration, it's been specified, then that is what they call, and this is exactly what we're speaking about, which is what? Nikah al-Mutaa. So both parties are upon what? Clarity. Right, everyone? طيب. The reason, لماذا سمي nikah mut'ah, he says because it's called temporary marriage or the marriage of so-called pleasure. He says what is intended by it is just tamattu', for one to just indulge in pleasure. That's it. So basically he can what? Calm his desires or his pleasure, or he can what? Enjoy himself. Of course, a person would do it because he doesn't want to fall into what? Something unlawful. As we know, fornication and adultery, all those things are unlawful. And all those things are what? Unlawful. So a person would try to come with a type of what? Trick. Okay, I don't want to fornicate, I don't want to commit adultery. So I'll just indulge inside of what? Temporary marriage. See, I'm still married regardless. I'm still married. I haven't fornicated, I haven't committed adultery with anyone. But however, what? However, this still has gone against the maqsood, the intent of the religion, of the religion of Allah Ta'ala, which is to unite people, unite families, and build them. This type of marriage opposes that. The opposite from the goals of the Sharia, of when Allah Ta'ala revealed the revelation, is to unite people and build families and build family structures. And this type of marriage goes against that. Why? Because from the maqsood or the intent or the aghrad or the goals behind the Sharia is that a person, when he gets married, of course, Allah Ta'ala says in this book, هو الذي جعلكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. He is the one that created from amongst yourselves women. Allah created from the men those women in order that you may live with her, find tranquility with her. But notice that Allah Ta'ala says live with her. To live with her and find tranquility with her. And that serenity. When you now have went and indulged in this matter, you have nullified that. Because it's now only to a what? Appointed time that you cut it. It's done. It's been cut off. For from the mafasid or the evils of zawaj al-mut'a, temporary marriage, is number one, this has been removed, which is the sukoon or that tranquility of living with the woman. That has been alleviated and eliminated. وَتَلِدُ لَهُ وَتَكُنْ شَرِيكَةً لَهُ فِي الْحَيَاةِ, whereas she will give birth for him and she will be a partner for him in life. That's been cut. And also likewise her participating in his inheritance. All that's likewise been cut. Participating in his inheritance after he dies. Which also shows the beauty of this religion, that the woman is not left in a state of harm. When the husband has that inheritance, she takes it in order for herself to be taken care of. Even after he what? After he dies and he passes on. In zawaj al-mut'ah, that's eliminated. That temporary marriage, that's eliminated. It's as if now she's like a borrowed animal, like a taste al-musta'ar. It's as if now she's like a what? A borrowed taste. A taste is like a sheep that's been borrowed. Just using it for a little bit of needs that you need, and then after that you get rid of it. It's like she's being rented. He says once that temporary time is over, of course, in zawaj al-mut'ah and temporary marriage, he says then the marriage contract dissolves. In fasakh al-nikah, the marriage contract now has been dissolved. And if he was to be interested in keeping her, we would say no, because the appointed time is done, it's over. You have no type of alternative to return back to her or for her to return back to you, because it was only been specified for appointed time, and that's it.
Married to the young lady, we say, okay, 3 months, you married.
Mm-hmm.
After 3 months, the contract is dissolved.
You have no option to keep her.
Under no circumstances.
Under no circumstances. You have no option to keep her. That's from the evils of Zawaj al-Mutaa. And also we'll talk about, there's a lot of evils in temporary marriage. From them, especially in these days of time. But back then, of course, a woman's virginity was very precious. Was very precious. Now these days of times, virginity is looked down upon. A woman being a virgin is looked down upon. A woman that's been ran through by 20, 40, 50 guys, that's what's praiseworthy. But now, back then during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and during the times in earlier times, it was very vital that a woman protect her what? Her virginity. And that she does not give that precious thing except to the man that she knows she's going to what? Remain with a long time. So now a man comes along, we'll talk about this is from the evils. He comes along, makes her lose her virginity. Back then, a lot of men were looking for virgins. They were looking for women who were virgins that have not been touched. That was something that was praiseworthy for a man to marry a woman that was a virgin. These days at times, the total opposite. So men look for women that's been learned already. But back then, these were the women the interest was leaning towards. Those women who are what? Those women who are virgins. Now a man comes along and he says, now we just get married for 3 months. So that was the most precious thing to her has now been what? Taken away. Which usually in most cases now the men do not want to what? Marry her. Back then a lot of the men were not interested in a woman. Once she became married and lost her virginity, a lot of men did not want to marry the woman. Because they were looking for what? Virgins. So now this woman remains without a husband for the rest of her life, where she now will be forced to fall in some haram. She will have to fall into something unlawful due to this type of oppression. You understand? So that's one of the evils of temporary marriage. That's one of the evils of what? Temporary marriage. And these days at times, I think it's total opposite now. Now a woman has been married 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7 times, especially amongst our ummah, oh, we'll marry her, no problem. But back then, when people had more integrity, and people had more morals, and they had boundaries, and they had respect for people, and their daughters, and their children, and their families, that was what? That was considered sanctified, that which was magnified, especially when a woman was protecting her virginity and protecting her chastity, or her being chaste. That was something that was very what? Precious and honorable. But that was from the evils of Zawaj al-Mutaa, is that a man, he comes along, and that which the woman probably struggled to protect is lost within 2 months, and that's it. You understand? That's from the evils also of Zawaj al-Mutaa. He says, also likewise from the evils of Zawaj al-Mutaa, we'll talk about, once the marriage contract is over, of course, there's no iddah as far as for her to take her back, because we know the iddah is for what? For marriage, for a man to take her back, or divorce her to take her back. Here there will be a iddah, but it wouldn't be a iddah for her to take her back. The iddah will only be to see if she's pregnant. So she cannot get married again to another man, is what they call istibra' rahim. There will be iddah, but not for him to take her back, but it'll be a waiting period to see if she's not pregnant. Because we know also in our religion, you see the beauty of it, is that what? There's not supposed to be another man's, his sperm mixed with another man's. You understand? A woman become pregnant from another man's what? Another man's sperm. So now, a woman can't be touched or married until she has the what? Until she has the child. That's the reason why she will have the iddah, in order to see if the rahim or womb has been what? Cleared of a child. That's why she will wait. Which shows the beauty of our what? Religion, that respects the womb, and it's not a beast, a type of savage, what we see in these days and times where women get pregnant and they having sex with other men at the same time. Where it's different types of sperms being mixed inside of the womb of a woman, which is disgusting. But it shows the beauty of our religion, to show that everything is protocol and in what? In its proper place. So, in order for the insab, and also likewise so there would be no confusion of who the child belongs to. That's another reason why it's what? The woman has the iddah for the istibra' rahim. She has that waiting period to make sure that the womb is free from a child. Also likewise so they can know who the child belongs to. Who's the father? If you have all these different men being intimate with the woman, it's not even known now. Is it his, or his, or his, or his, or his? Which is also disgusting and filthy, and which we see taking place in these days and times. Right, everyone? But at any rate, for Zawaj al-Mut'ah, like we just said, Zawaj al-Mut'ah, if a person was to indulge in this, these things would take place. A man is not able to take her back. She will not have a waiting period where he could take her back. Why there will only be a waiting period for what? Whether or not the womb has been what? Freed from a child. Jayyid, is it clear what I'm saying now? So in order for the ansab or the lineage doesn't get mixed up with another man. Is it clear what I'm saying? If another man's sperm is another, and there's another woman, there's different relationships, the lineages will get mixed up. Nobody will know exactly who the father is. Right or wrong? Nobody knows for certain. There will always be some doubt there. I don't know if this is his child, in which we witness this today. Where people have to take blood tests, or all this could be avoided if they would have just stuck to what was proper. طيب. So it says in this regard, so these are all from the mafasid of temporary marriage. So all the ahkam of nikah, of what is the legislated marriage, all of that has been removed. And also likewise, what is from the dangers of this type of marriage, also, is that the child, if she becomes pregnant, no father. There's no father to the child now. And the child does not what? Also join the father. If she was to get married again. If she to get married again, the child doesn't even join up with the father. So all these are the evils of what? Zawaj al-Mut'ah. It's more and more, we could go more and more than this, than all the trying to enumerate the different types of evils of this type of marriage. That's the reason why the Prophet ﷺ made it prohibited or forbade it during the time of Am al-Fath, or the conquest of Mecca. He said with absolute agreement amongst Ahl Ilm, starting with the text from what the Prophet ﷺ said himself, or what has been authentically reported, and also the understanding of the Sahaba, how the Sahaba, the companions of the Messenger of Allah understood it, that it was something that was what? Something that was unlawful. As far as the statement of Ibn Abbas, this is what we wanted to talk about. Because there's a narration of Ibn Abbas, which is in Sahih Muslim, where Ibn Abbas said it was lawful. It's a statement from Ibn Abbas, but it has to be explained. That's what we're going to talk about in like 1 minute. Before we do that, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the narration. What did he say? He says on the authority, Sabra ibn Ma'bad al-Juhani. Sabra, Rabi' ibn Sabra ibn Ma'bad al-Juhani, that it says, إني كنت أذنت لكم في الاستمتاع من النساء وإن الله قد حرم ذلك إلى يوم القيامة. Verily I give you permission to enjoy women, meaning and indulge in temporary marriage. He said, for verily Allah has made it unlawful all the way up to the day of resurrection. Whoever has under them a woman from that contract, he says, then let her go. فَلْيُخْلِي سَبِيلَهَا. And do not take back anything which you gave them, anything in the least. Meaning of that dowry, or those gifts, or whatever you gave them, do not take it back. Jayyid? طيب. There's another narration where the Prophet ﷺ also said, مَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ اسْتَمْتَعَ فَلْيُعْطِيهَا مَا اسْتَمْتَعَ بِهِ وَمَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ كَذَلِكَ فَلْيُخْلِي سَبِيلَهَا ثُمَّ قَالَ إِنَّ ذَلِكَ حَرَامٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. To the end of the narration, where he says, and this is another narration similar to the one we just mentioned now, he says, whoever has from amongst you which he used to enjoy, meaning from those women, then give her what you indulge as far as in that pleasure with, meaning from the dowry you gave her, or what you gave as that dowry when you made the contract. And if whoever their affair is not like that, then let her go. Then the Prophet ﷺ had announced, verily this is a matter that is made unlawful all the way up to the day of resurrection. Jayyid? So now we know without a shadow of a doubt that muta'ah, temporary marriage, is something that is unlawful without any type of ikhtilaf whatsoever. There is no difference of opinion. Once we have an authentic report from the Prophet ﷺ, it cuts off all types of what? Ikhtilaf. It cuts off any type of difference of opinion, no matter what it is. Once we have a text, that's it. The text and the wahi and the pure revelation is what causes and destroys any type of what? Difference of opinion. As far as in the regards to the statement of Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhu ardah, what time is it? Just because I have to keep up with the time. Oh, time flies. Wow. All right. When you thought Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, there's a statement that he said that nikah al-mut'ah was legal. It was a statement in Sahih Muslim. We'll talk about that right now. Now listen. وَنَاظَرَهُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ عَمُّهُ عَلِي بن أبي طالب مُنَاظَرَةٍ تَامَّةٍ حَتَّى قَالَ لَهُ إِنَّكَ رَجُلٌ تَائِهٌ عَنِ الصَّوَابِ. He says for Ibn Abbas said this until Ali ibn Abi Talib. Notice Ali ibn Abi Talib is the one who admonished Ibn Abbas. So the Rawafida, the Shia, those people who are backing all the terrorists in these days and times, ISIS and all them, are being backed by those idiots, the Shia and the Rawafid in Iran. These knuckleheads, or these idiots, right? They say that they glorify Ali, even though they practice what? They practice temporary marriage. Ali is the one who narrated that it is what? Prohibited. So where's your so-called glorification of Ali? And he's the one that narrated what? That's illegal and it's prohibited. And also likewise, he also admonished Ibn Abbas for the opinion, taking a statement that is what? That is illegal. You understand, everyone? So it shows that it's not about Ali. It's something beyond that. It's just misguidance. You understand, everyone? This is absolute misguidance. It's just following of one's desires. Has nothing to do with Ali. We glorify Ali. We glorify Ali. This is the narration of Ali. And also the narration of Ali, which is wiping over the khuf. You'll find also from the narrations of wiping over the socks when one makes wudu. To make it easier upon the people when he makes wudu, he doesn't have to take his socks off and wash his feet. Once he makes his wudu, washes his feet, put his socks on top, for the rest of the day he can wipe over top of his socks once and that's it. They reject that narration. And that narration is famous upon Ali. And they say, no, you can't wipe over the socks. This is Ali. He narrated the hadith. Or narrated the athar, excuse me. It's Ali. Which is known in all the different books of the Sunnah and the I'tiqad. And despite of that, you reject the what? The wiping over the sock. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about Ali. They just use that as a what? Smoke screen. To say we love Ali, we glorify Ali. It's a smoke screen. Hiding behind it what? Just mere misguidance and mere following of one's desires. That's it. Just to pick and choose what you feel suits your desires. And that's it. So we say in this regard, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, Ali ibn Abi Talib, when he admonished him, he said, you are a person that's lost in this affair. You are lost in this affair. Ibn Abbas said, Anta ta'eh, you're lost. This affair, just listen. Ali ibn Abi Talib clarified to him that the Prophet ﷺ made it unlawful because he's the one that narrated it. Was this what? He's the one that narrated this narration in your books. These two narrations, right, everyone? طيب. Then وشدد على ابن عباس ثم إن ابن عباس اختلف الناقلون هل أباحها للضرورة أو إباحة مطلقة. Now listen. Now Ibn Abbas, that Ali was a little bit stern with Ibn Abbas. He was شدد عليه. He was stern with him a bit. Then he said, now, some of those narrators and those who conveyed these narration upon Ibn Abbas, they was saying, did he legalize it for darura, for the extreme circumstance? Or did he just say that it was absolutely legal? He just generalized it and said in all circumstances it's no problem. Listen to what Ibn Uthaymeen mentions. Says he said, what is the most mashhur? What is the most famous, and what is not the most famous? What we say, what is the most strongest opinion? He says you'll find the majority of Ahl-Ilm mention and say that he said it was legal for an extreme circumstance. Meaning, there's a man that he comes to a place, a remote distance place, and he doesn't want to fall into fornication. I don't want to fornicate. I don't want to what? Commit zina. I don't want to fornicate. I don't want to fall into adultery. I don't want to fall into any of these affairs. He goes to something far, somewhere far. And he really needs to get married. His desires might be strong, a man with strong desires. He doesn't want to fall into something haram. and he goes to a remote, distant, far place. His wife's not around, nobody's around. But I want to get married. But I have to continue my travels to the end of it. And he's fear of this affair of falling into fornication. He said, in this instance, no problem. However, he says, when he's seen the people started to now, tawassa'u, they started really going to the extremes and really started now opening the doors and being very lax in this affair. He says, in the end, that he said it was what? He says that he said now when he started seeing the people that everybody was so-called claiming an extreme circumstance, he says, then he what? Retracted it. Then he retracted it. Raja an fatwa. Then he retracted the fatwa, he retracted the religious ruling, and he agreed with the what? With the rest of the Sahaba, with the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You understand, everyone? Is it clear now? He says, أما العلماء ومن بعثوا فإن المشهور عند الشيعة أنهم يحلون ذلك يجيزونها ولا عجب أنهم يدعون عصمة علي. That's exactly what we were just talking about when we were refuting Shia. So at any rate, the A'immat al-Muslimin, from that which is from the A'imma, from the ulama, from the scholars of the religion who are upon the proper belief, and at the head of them the Sahaba, at the head of them are companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and their ijma' and their consensus, because what is considered is the consensus of the Sahaba, or the consensus of the Sahaba. That zawaj mut'ah, or that which is temporary marriage, is what is unlawful. And whoever legalizes it and said it's permissible, and they try to use as a dalil the statement of Ibn Abbas, then, like we said, that has been rejected because of these different proofs that we brought to say that Ibn Abbas in the end had retracted his fatwa. يشترط أن لا يترتب عليها مفسدة بالتوسع فيها وإلا منعت كغيرها من المباحات. إذا قال قائل الحكمة في النهي عن متع هي. We already talked about that. We spoke about that. Now, what we want to discuss now is another affair in which a lot of people fall into, and they do these days, in which some of our brothers I've seen, they mix it up. What's the difference between temporary marriage and the second affair, which is what they call a zawaj biniyat al-talaq, to get married with the intention of divorce? There's a difference. As far as the first affair, then is what? Now, as far as zawaj al-mut'ah, what you'll find in that contract is that it's clear. It's clear that both parties know what's going to happen. It's been made clear in the contract, stipulated, so-and-so, this is going to be a marriage for a certain amount of days. So the wife, the woman knows, the wali knows, the one who's responsible for affairs knows, and the man knows. But as far as the marriage with the intent of divorce, it's not known. The woman doesn't know that this man is concealing an evil intention. So she doesn't know that this man is hiding his what? An intent. So it's different. It's different between zawaj al-mut'ah and a zawaj biniyat al-talaq. It's a difference between temporary marriage and marriage with the intention of divorce. You understand? Like I said, the first one, everybody's upon what? Clarity. Both parties know what's going to happen, what's going to take place. It's been stipulated, made clear in the contract. We're only going to be married this duration, or this amount of days. It's clear. As far as marriage with the intention of divorce, it's not known. Only the man knows, and Allah knows. But the wali or the affair of the one responsible for, or the one who wants to marry his daughter off doesn't know, nor does the woman know. Because he's concealing his what? His intention. So everyone see now the difference between the two? طيب. What is mashhur, or what is the famous narration from the madhab of Imam Ahmed? He said that this is unlawful. It's not permissible. And he said the reasons for that, with the dalil, with evidence and proofs, and also likewise qiyas, and also using analogy to say it's like something else, which we'll talk about. He says, as for the dalil that the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned, it said, verily actions are based upon intentions. The Hadeeth of Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu wa arda, al-Faruq, Abu Hafsah. That actions are based upon what? Intentions. وَهَذَا نَوَى نِكَاحٍ مُؤَجَّلًا فَثَبَتَ لَهُ مَا نَوَى. He says, for this person he had the intent for only a specific duration time of marriage, and he will be affirmed for him what he's what? What he's intended. And as we know, a person that does this, and the great scholar, the Imam al-Albani, rahimahullah, running his famous argument, when a person was asking about this, because a lot of people were using aqwal, or different statements, in order to justify this type of marriage. And he said, in the end, would you like for someone to do this to your daughter? Your daughter who you raised, you cultivated, and you work diligently of trying to raise her and instill proper manners and feed her and clothe her and raise her with integrity and respect and all these other things, and try to raise her to be a good woman to her husband. And in the end, some man with an ulterior motive comes and he says, with ulterior motive, he marries, but he only wants to marry her for a certain time, then he gets rid of her. How would you feel? He says, would you want somebody to do that to your daughter? So the person who was asking the question couldn't say anything. He said, are you pleased for that for your daughter? If you're pleased for it, okay. Well, are you pleased for your daughter then? The one who you raised, you was going out to your job day and night to try to provide for her, make sure she was taken care of and she had all the things she needed, make sure that she received the proper cultivation, proper upbringing, raised her with morals and character, integrity and respect, and then some man messed it up in 3 or 4 months. Or he just wanted to be married to her for a month, take it in, and also indulge in his pleasures and take care of his pleasures, and then after that, throw it to the curb. So we said, and I know for myself, I would not want this for my daughter. I wouldn't want any of my children to indulge in this, or no one to do this to my daughter. I would be highly upset. And I think a lot of other people will be highly upset likewise. For those who have any jealousy for their daughters and their children, will be highly what? They will be very, very upset. So he said that these were from the proofs to say that what? That you will get what you intended. And we know the qa'idah, and we know we talked about this last week, the principle or takatukun qa'idah, that Allah deals with the people according to their intentions. You intend evil, Allah will what? يُعَامِلُكَ بِنَقِيدِ قَصْدِكَ. Allah will deal with you in contrast to what you intended. You see a person intend evil, and usually at the end, Allah might switch it on you. You might intend evil in the beginning. You intend evil to a person, then it comes back on you, or the outcome is not in what you intended. The outcome is not what you intended. Either something of that will come back upon you, and we don't believe in karma. The Muslims don't believe in karma. That's something of what they believe in as far as the religion of yoga or something like that. There's no such thing. We don't believe absolutely in karma. We believe in أن الجزاء من جنس العمل. We believe that the repayment is due to your actions. Your repayment is due to your actions. Jayyid, Allah Ta'ala will deal with you according to your what? Your intent. Will deal with you. Because Allah knows what you intend. As Allah Ta'ala says in His book, يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. Allah knows the perfidiousness of a person when he wants to intend to now be perfidious or evil. And He also knows what the chest and the hearts conceal. And Allah, and you'll find that the majority of people who intend evil, it always comes out in the end of something where it doesn't come in which they intended, ultimately. You understand? And that's something that all of us have to realize. Allah deals with us according to our intention. In order for us to now what? To always deal with people how we will want to be what? Dealt with. To always deal with people in light of how we will want to be treated. Because how you treat people is just as the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the Hadeeth, which is in Sahih Muslim, which is in the Sahih. What the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, he said, فَإِنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيَأْتِ إِلَى النَّاسِ مَا يُحِبُّ يُؤْتَى إِلَيْهِ. He says, فَمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُزَحْزَحَ عَنِ النَّارِ وَيُدْخَلَ الْجَنَّةِ فَلْتَأْتِهِ مَنِيَّتُهُ وَهُوَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيَأْتِ إِلَى النَّاسِ مَا يُحِبُّ أَن يُؤْتَى إِلَيْهِ. That's it. But the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever wants to be removed from hell, or put far, not just say removed from hell, he said, يُزَحْزَحَ عَنِ النَّارِ. If you want to be put far away from hell and entered into paradise, let one of you die, or let his death come to you, and you believe in Allah on the last day. You believe in Allah in the last day, when He sent down the final revelation. And let Him deal with people of how He would love to be. Let Him come to people and deal with people and treat people how He would love to be what? Dealt with and be treated with. The Prophet ﷺ made that in order for what? For one to correct his niyyah. If this is the case, then you won't want nobody to marry your daughter in order to what? Take care of your desires, indulge in your desires, and then after that, get rid of her like she's a what? Like she's a piece of trash. And move on to the next. Jayid? So verily, in this instance, we'll stop here. I think, what time is it? I don't like to. We'll continue this affair. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. We stop here. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions? And I know there's a couple of people that do this, and I told the brothers, subhanallah al-azim, like, it's sad, you know, sad.